Welcome back, everybody. Today we will be discussing the Yeezy 350 V2 Bred. Specifically, we will be discussing some release info, how to cop, and of course, some resale predictions at the end of the video. The Yeezy 350 V2 Bred releases on December 5th. This actually is a re-release for those who aren't aware. The initial drop for these was actually on February 11th, 2017, and they were extremely limited then. Retail for the men's pair is $220. This includes sizes 4 to 17. Kids will be $160 and infants will be $140. Now, regarding resale, we will cover that towards the end of the video as always for all sizes, not just men, because it will vary significantly. Regarding stock, since this is not a Nike item, I can't confirm the exact number myself, but according to Pirates, stock is going to be 575,000 pairs. This is certainly a vast amount. However, as you guys know by now, demand plays a significantly more important factor. We'll discuss that later towards the end of the video and why the high stock is actually a good thing for these compared to the initial release, which was extremely low stock. But anyway, with the release info out of the way, let's jump into how to cop these Yeezy 350 V2 Breds. As usual, we will be going in chronological order of sites that are going to be releasing these, along with how to properly manage your time with maximum efficiency, since there's going to be a lot going on at the same time. Now, before we jump into those first come first serve sites, as usual, I will be posting a raffle list on my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and personals for you. So feel free to follow those, and in addition to raffles, of course, for urgent info such as shock drops, restocks, etc. Also, be sure that you don't forget to sign up for the Flex App Raffle. This will certainly be one of your greatest chances of copying these, and in addition to the Flex App reservations with high stock, there is most definitely going to be lots of leftover pairs, since there is very high stock on these again. So be sure to call your local Foot Locker, Champs, and Foot Action and ask about their procedure for leftovers. Some will make you wait outside the store until 3 p.m. local time when pickup times do end, while others will make you camp for tickets in the morning and then have you come back at around 3 p.m. local. Now, in addition to the Flex App reservations, please ensure that you also do not forget to sign up for the Adidas App Raffle, as the most stock is allocated to here by a significant amount. Additionally, you can increase your chances of winning by entering in multiple accounts rather than just one. Similar to Nike, Adidas does require SMS verification, so you will have to use a friend's phone number and ask them for a verification code just as you would for Nike. However, if you do want to enter a mass amount of accounts, or you just don't want to bother your friends, feel free to check out the link in the description for my site TARS, where you can buy pre-verified accounts for Nike and Adidas. It's currently out of stock right now, but I do plan to restock it within the next few days. Now, with those out of the way, we'll be starting with the US drops in chronological order, but if you are from Europe, skip to here. Kicking it off, since this is a Yeezy, you will have to be awake at 7 a.m. Eastern time, nice and early. Why do they do this? I have no idea. At exactly 7 a.m. Eastern time, I would suggest to place your focus and your attention on Hibbett Sports, as this will be the first site to sell out, considering the Shopify sites, majority of which are going to be dropping at 10 a.m. Eastern time, not 7. My biggest suggestion for Hibbett would actually be to use your mobile device. Now, after you select a size, then tap and hold the Apple Pay option to check out in the most efficient manner. The only Shopify site that is likely going to be dropping at 7 a.m. Eastern time is going to be YCMC, which actually just recently changed to Shopify around the start of 2020. I would still suggest prioritizing Hibbett though, considering there will be significantly more stock there and also isn't as heavily botted. It certainly still is botted by many now, but I'd say you still have a much better shot at Hibbett compared to YCMC. Packer is also known to sometimes drop at 7 a.m. Eastern time as well for Yeezys, but even if they do hypothetically confirm it the day before, they should post on Instagram, I'd still suggest focusing on Hibbett at exactly 7 a.m. Eastern time, since again, you can't focus on so many places at once, and I do feel that you will have the best chance at Hibbett. Now at this point, right after Hibbett sells out, you'll want to shift your focus to foot sites and periodically checking Finish Line, JD Sports, and Dick's Sporting Goods to see if you have passed Q. Make sure to set up these tabs for these sites beforehand. You should set them up as soon as you see my account or personals for you tweet out the links, because as usual, I will tweet out a site list for you guys. This way, they're already ready to go and waiting in queue after Hibbett. The key to copying on foot sites, which is Foot Locker, Kids Foot Locker, Foot Action, Eastbay, and Champs, is persistency, not exactly speed. I've spoken about this many times in the past. I've seen people cop manually on foot sites as late as 45 minutes into the drop. You really just can't give up when it comes to here. You have to keep on clicking add to cart over and over over again until it finally carts. They're really terrible sites, and of course, expect to get a ton of errors when trying to cart. Now, as for Finish Line, JD Sports, and Dick's Sporting Goods, on the other hand, as you're trying to cart on foot sites, just periodically keep checking your tabs on them to see if you have eventually passed queue. When you do pass queue, of course, it's pretty self-explanatory from there. Just try to add to cart and check out. One thing that I must note for Finish Line and JD Sports, though, they have become very sensitive as of the last few months, so do not open up multiple Chrome users. Stick to only one tab per site, otherwise you will risk a temporary IP ban. Now, as for DSG, they're not as sensitive, but you should still limit yourself to around 10 or so and you'll be fine. Please remember, again, to wake up early to set up those tabs beforehand or the night before, just so you don't have to wait and set them up last minute. Following these 7 a.m. Eastern drops, now let's move to 8 a.m. Eastern time. We should be seeing Undefeated drop at this time, potentially Packer as well if Packer doesn't drop at 7 a.m. Eastern time, but still, I'd suggest focusing on Undefeated anyway, just because they tend to get higher stock, and also they do require accounts, which does slightly help manual users. But before this time, just make sure you're signed into the Undefeated account as it is required for the site to check out. As I mentioned, be ready to solve a checkpoint captcha as well. And lastly, just a disclaimer that this site is Shopify, meaning that it is going to be extremely difficult to cop manually if you don't have a bot or at least a Shopify monitor without the cart link. Still though, try your best since there's normally nothing else going on at this time. Moving on to 9 a.m. Eastern time, we may potentially see 3 Shopify sites drop. I'm mentioning these sites first because although stock will be little to none here, Yeezy Supply at the same time, 9 a.m. Eastern time, is not going to be very time sensitive since it is going to be a queue. Hence, you should be able to allot your time to these 3 Shopify sites, even though the chances of copying are going to be very slim. But anyway, this is going to be Alma Miniere, Social Status, and APB Store, just because they sometimes do drop together at this time. If they don't, they'll likely drop at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and at that point, I would not place focus on these sites because they have extremely low stock, and there's going to be better opportunities to focus on at 10 a.m. Eastern time. However, if they do drop at 9 a.m. Eastern time, since there's nothing else to focus on at exactly that time, might as well give it a shot, even though the chances of copying from those 3 are still very slim. Same as Undefeated, expect a checkpoint captcha, but on the other hand, no account is required for here, and at least just be sure to set up Chrome autofill. Now, right after 9 a.m. Eastern time, usually around 9:02 to 9:04 a.m. Eastern time, the sale for Yeezy Supply will start. However, you should already be set up in advance for this because queue normally begins for these at around 8:45 a.m. Eastern time, which will give you more than sufficient time to set up before the Shopify 9 a.m. Eastern time drops. This will be one of your best ways to cop due to the significant amount of stock that will be there in comparison to those weak Shopify sites. Yeezy Supply is sadly no longer first come first served. This actually used to be one of the fun Shopify sites due to the massive stock. Throwback to the Shopify bypass, if you guys remember that, leave a comment down below. But anyway, since Yeezy Supply is a queue, you can feel free to set up all of your Chrome users in advance so you don't have to focus on the first come first serve sites at 9 a.m. Eastern time, assuming they don't drop at 10, of course. You will see the screen change to the sale has started when it actually does begin at around 9:02 to 9:04 a.m. Eastern time. For those of you who are wondering what I meant by Chrome users, it's super simple. I'll just walk you through it real quick. Go to the top right corner of your screen in Google Chrome, click on your profile, then click Add Person, add a random name and emblem, then click Add. Repeat this for as many Chrome users as you do desire. You can technically add as many as you want, but the best amount is completely relative to your personal computer and depends on your own CPU. If you do have too many Chrome users for your computer CPU to handle, then it'll be extremely laggy and inefficient, so you have to play around a bit to find the balance. Also, to view all of them at once, just a quick tip, for Windows computers, use the Windows and Tab button, and for Mac, use the F3 button. It is also suggested that you only have a max of 10 users per IP address, so you can split 10 on your Wi-Fi and another 10 on your device that's connected to your hotspot, or you can also use a proxy switcher. There are plenty of free extensions for this on the Chrome Web Store, which I would suggest, and if you do buy residential proxies, you could even add a unique one for every single Chrome user, since you can generate an unlimited amount this way. If anyone did want to go this route with the proxy switcher, feel free to check out the link in the description for kit proxies. Now, equally as important, make sure to sign into an active Gmail account on each of your Chrome users. Try not to log into the same one too many times, but it'll have to be ones that you are most relatively active on. This will make make passing Q significantly more efficient. Just Google my Gmail V3 score to see how close your Gmails are to a 0.9. The closer you are, the better. Now with 9 a.m. out of the way though, let's move to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. At exactly 10 a.m. Eastern Time, you'll want to be focusing on the first come first serve sites. Your best chance of these, one of which should be Kith, especially if you're in a group that does provide Kith early links. That will certainly give you an edge on this drop. Accounts are not required for Kith, but you should expect a checkpoint. Concepts may also potentially drop at 10 a.m. Eastern, which is a decent manual shot. Accounts are required here to check out, and you should expect a checkpoint captcha here as well. Unlike Kith, they should confirm the day before publicly on social media. You also should have a decent chance of copying on Shoe Palace and Shop Nice Kicks if you go for them, since they do get pretty high stock, and they normally do enable proxy protection and a checkpoint, which does help you out a little bit. The issue is that they do load the products beforehand, which allows people to run variants on their bots, which makes it even more difficult for manual users. Regardless, I'd still say that these are certainly some decent options to try compared to some of the other Shopify sites, at least because there are going to be many others. These are also already confirmed. The pages have already loaded. And finally, if Jimmy Jazz does confirm that they are going to be dropping, that will also be a decent option as well. Following whatever first come first serve sites you choose, you'll want to then shift your focus to Snipes. Snipes will be a Q release like we discussed earlier, but they will be at 10 a.m. Eastern Time rather than 7 a.m. Eastern Time like the others. Unless they do restart the queue, which they sometimes do, Snipes isn't completely random unlike most queues, so try to get into queue as soon as it does start. I will try to tweet out, of course, when this does occur. Snipes isn't confirmed yet, but based on the pattern, I'm assuming that they will load eventually, and if not, it's probably going to be a delayed drop, as they have done that for numerous products in the past. Best thing I could suggest is just following them on social media for updates, or just personals for you, as I will likely retweet if that is the case. Then finally, for US drops at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we should be seeing Dover Street Market in New York drop. This is another Shopify site. No account is required here, but you should expect a checkpoint captcha. And with that, that is going to transition me into the Europe sites. First one I wanted to mention is actually the latest time for Europe, but it will actually ship worldwide, hence I wanted to mention first Dover Street Market London. It's the same exact process as I just mentioned for Dover Street Market New York, but rather than 11 a.m. Eastern Time, it normally is 6 a.m. Eastern Time, or 12 p.m. CET, I should say. However, as of recently, it has been 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time on some drops, which is 3:30 p.m. CET. Now, as for the Europe only site, the most stock for online drops should be on Foot Locker. Just keep in mind that it is extremely difficult to manually cop on here. In order to try to pass queue here, I do suggest using multiple Chrome users. If I had to choose one first come first serve drop for you guys to focus on, I would suggest Snipes, assuming they do load and confirm the drop, as they haven't done so yet as of me recording this video. It's going to be botted really hard, of course, but so are all the other Europe sites that are going to be first come first serve, unfortunately. So this is just one that happens to get pretty good stock, so you might have somewhat of a chance here, at least on the bigger sizes. And aside from that, we should also see Soulbox and Slam Jam 9 a.m. CET. This would be a shock drop or a random time. Unfortunately, it will be near impossible to manually cop on here unless you do have access to a monitor, or I would suggest following more sneakers and personals for you on Twitter. It's also very possible that Offspring may shock drop these as well, as they do have high stock, and Offspring tends to do that on high stock products. Make sure to follow them on Instagram and enable story notifications, because they will post on there when it is live, and they do post relatively quick, so you might have a chance here. Vast majority of Europe drops, unfortunately, will be through raffles, which again, I will tweet out on my account, so be ready for that. But now, with the header cop out of the way, let's move on to the resale predictions. Although the stock on these is extremely high at over 575,000 pairs, this isn't something we haven't seen before for Yeezys. In fact, we saw over 1 million pairs on the Cream Yeezy 350s, which actually ended up being profitable too. Now take into account that this is only half of the stock and has significantly more demand than the Creams, or the vast majority of 350s in fact. Without a doubt, all sizes for these will be very profitable despite the massive stock. Sizes under 8, of course, will perform best, of course. However, I would expect even larger sizes to still be easy profit, whether you have tax or not. Demand is just way too high on these. Do not sleep. Now, you might be wondering why I said it's actually a good thing that we have high stock on these compared to low stock. Well, like I said, I'm still very confident that these are going to be profitable no matter what, regardless of the very high stock. So the high stock is actually a good thing, because it's going to allow you the opportunity to cop more easily compared to an extremely hyped product like an Off-White Jordan 5, for example. So I definitely do think a lot of you guys have a really solid chance of copying multiple pairs of these, or at least one. Now, in terms of the kids and infant pairs, on the other hand, I'm actually expecting these to still be profitable profitable as well, with an exception though. The sale volume will not be anywhere near as the men's. For that reason, if you do want to make a decent margin off of these, you must be patient when selling them. When it comes to the men's pairs, you don't have to worry about that. Of course, full throttle for sure. I will also be making a hold or sell video on these if anyone is interested, so leave a comment below if you would be interested in that. But anyway, that will conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you did enjoy, or you perhaps learned a thing or two. Also, subscribe and enable post notifications just so you stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. And of course, feel free to check out the links in the description for fast, reliable residential proxies and pre-verified Adidas or Nike accounts. Last but not least, make sure to follow KeithAdam10 and Personals for You on Twitter, just so you always stay 100% updated on all urgent info like what I was mentioning today, along with the raffles. With that, I'll see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and good luck on this drop. I have a lot of confidence in you guys for this one.